stepped out and supported that bill, and we got a lot of grief about it. Why, I don't know. You know, I feel like as a society, we should be judged on how we treat our veterans and our seniors and our children and those people that cannot help themselves. You know, we need to focus on things in our lives that are important to us, no matter how old we are. Anyway, I'm Martha Jane King. I live in Logan County, the next county over. Grew up on a farm. I'm a farm kid. When I got to office, most of the ladies that were Democrats came from Louisville and Lexington. They really didn't understand farm life. You know, it's like, you guys actually kill hogs, and I'm like, those ribs didn't just jump in that package and throw it. You know, somebody raised that hog and processed it. But they don't want to think about that. There's nothing wrong with that, but you know, when you grow up and that's your lifestyle and you're a rural kid, that's who you are. That's what sets your boundaries for the rest of your life. We lived in a small farming community. My life was about school, church, and the farm. And that was pretty much it. But as you get older, you know, you get out and experience things. I got married, had 2 kids, 2 and 11 months. Don't ever do that. That's what I found out. And I'm like, that's not gonna happen again. But anyway, I was working and trying to help support the family, and there was a lady who had been state representative, who had worked with my granddad, who had worked with former Lieutenant Governor. They were big buddies. And she's like, Martha Jane, you have to get out and do some public service. So she talked me into working at the polls. And I found out something very valuable, because there's Democrats and Republicans both at the polls. We got along great. We had the best time. We became good friends, and the next time an election came up, we wanted to work together again. And I realized, you know, the differences that keep us apart is just for the lack of knowledge. And I know today, knowledge is a hard thing to go out and find. When I decided to go ahead and step out to run, I was already working as the chair of the Democrat Party in Logan County. And I was doing a lot of civic work, and I was trying to find somebody to run for state representative. And one day it just dawned on me, I'm gonna do it. I had no intentions of doing it, I never wanted to do it. I was a 53-year-old freshman. And I'm like, I should have started a long time ago, because there is so much to learn, but you're never too old to learn. I got in there and realized I served a great purpose. I was a rural voice and a Democrat, and I knew who I was, and I knew what I stood for. And that was a valuable lesson, ladies. Be who you are and be where you're from. In today's age of technology, which back when I was elected in 2009, believe it or not, Facebook was going well. Twitter had just started to boom up, and the rest of social media probably wasn't there. But that took off gangbusters. And now we are where we are today. And if you want to find the truth, where do you go? How do you know what you listen to? This newscast is mostly Democrat. This one's Republican. This one's in the middle. Where do you go? They're not funding NPR anymore. They're not funding any of our local resources, like the news that comes out of Western, that we can depend on. And I challenge you to try to use those stations that you feel are neutral. The university channels, the NPR channels. And I'm certainly not one to tell you what to do. But you gotta figure out who you are and what you want to do. Being in public service is not easy, but if you feel like you need to do it, the greatest thing is every time I go out and do something I feel more blessed. When the tornadoes came about 3 years ago, the governor called me and wanted me to come to work for him. And that's what I've been doing the last couple of years. And when you find a lady that was in the tornado, she's still in a wheelchair. 3 years later, her son was 6 months older. He had just rolled over that day. Grandma had just filmed it. And he died in the tornado. And when you're in the position that you get to go that day and hand her the keys to a home, let me tell you something. If that doesn't bless you, I do not know. And this job does that. When you hear people say, you're got a servant's heart, I think that's what that means. The same with Christian values. Do you have a servant's heart? Yes. For religion, for public service, for anything that's really important to you, for education. You can make it what you want it to be. And this pink suit is so funny because Miss Diane, we were laughing about it one day, and how many years ago did I first start speaking?
It's been about 8 years or so.
Yeah, and so I wore this kind of as a joke to say, when I first started in politics in 2006, if I wore this, they would not take me seriously. They'd say, you know, woman in a pink suit, blonde hair, she doesn't know anything. And I'm serious, people have judged me that I could not know anything because I was a woman from Kentucky. And I was with the National Conference of State Legislators, and a guy and I started talking, and he said, oh, well, I took Mark Kennedy Shriver's seat, which this guy was President Kennedy's grandson. Then I'm like, oh yeah, he's a really nice guy. And he kind of was like, you know him? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I really like him. He's serious about childhood education. Jennifer Garner was with him when he came to Frankfurt. We all sat down and talked about education. And he came back again, and I really like him. And he told me later on that his perception of me, being a female from Kentucky with my accent, there's no way I could know a Kennedy. And you know, you think that was in 2014. You think that's insane. But that's how I was judged. And I'm not losing my accent. I'm not trying to talk like anybody else. Because again, I think you need to find a way to be who you are. And please don't wait to be 55 and 53 to go into office if that is your passion. Think about it and try to do it now. But it is a brutal landscape these days. But please don't ever define yourself by somebody you don't know, by somebody that's eating you up on social media, by somebody that's after you. I had one race that I ran. This guy, Rand Paul, had fired, and he was really a devious person. We had to file 3 police reports on this guy. And when you have somebody that's a male and several inches taller than you, and look, she's already recoiling like, what's she gonna do? That he gets right up in your face, over you, pointing this close to you. You know, you're like, and the police were there, the sheriff was there. And they got him away from me, and we went on with what we were doing. But he stuck around out front and didn't leave. So the police said, you live down on the lake in the country and you're not going home by yourself. Yes, ma'am.
Could you talk about the differences of like men sort of being allowed to be aggressive in these sort of settings, whereas women are sort of demonized?
Yeah, it's true. He got away with a lot of stuff because he was a guy. He was manly, he was aggressive. And I had to pick my times very selectively where I could do what I wanted to do, and I did. But most of the time, as he would like lean over the table and say, "You don't know what you're talking about," and all these things, I would just come back with, "Well, I feel this way about it. I think this. I feel this way." I didn't deny how he felt, but he wanted to deny everything I felt. It was so bad one time, the 5th grade class was there with their teacher, and they wrote a letter to the superintendent and said, "Please help Miss King get elected because that other guy's a bully." You know, even they noticed it. But you have to pick your times, and what I did to him that caused that big reaction, he had had a rock band as a younger person. He had gotten into satanic verse. There are always different people that put money in a campaign for you or against you that you don't have any control of. And people got on social media and found out the negative things about this guy. And they put out an ad, and he blamed me. And I got on the microphone and said, when you put your life on social media, where your kids can find out all the things you did, all the things you said, all the things your friends said that you didn't say, this is terrible. Because it was racist, it was violent, it was, again, a bully tactic. He jumped on everybody on social media. But I got up that day and said, when you put your life on social media, I cannot help it that somebody finds it and it comes back to haunt you. So they do get aggressive. And you have to really be smart and pick your times, but honey, you can pick them. And you can assess that bully and take them down on their own tactic. All you guys, all of you ladies, I'm sorry, have faced guys who have done those type of things. I'm sure you have. And you just have to really be smart and stand up for yourself. No man's gonna tell me who I am because my daddy said that. You are as good as any man. And you can do anything a man can do, unless it's really, really physical, then you're gonna need some help. And I'm like, yeah, but when I get mad, I'm pretty tough, so. I mean, I knew that, but ladies, look, it is rough times out there on social media and everything you're doing. The community is large, but be who you are, and don't let people take you down. Most of the time when I had all these people on social media saying all these negative things, I just totally ignored it. You can't convince someone that's already got an idea drilled in their head that they're wrong. You're just, you know, you might as well save your breath to cool your coffee, because you're not going to be able to change their mind. Have any of you all ever thought about running for office? You have?
Maybe a little bit, but I also had a question for you as well.
Yeah.
How do you deal with being a woman in a male-dominated field, especially with such aggressive tactics that they utilize to bring people down, especially other women?
How do I deal with the who?
How do you deal with being a woman in such like a male-dominated field, well, nowadays especially as well with everything that's going on, and how do you like still keep true to yourself with all this negativity and like hate that you face?
Well, really, back in the day, I will say, before social media, you faced it at school, at work, and all these places. I'm not saying poor women, we can't do anything. But there was always some guy, somewhere, at work, that you had to deal with. And again, you really have to pick your time and be smart about it and stand up for yourself. And I can't tell you what that time would be, because I think, you know, anybody that is a bully like you can't know everything. You just think you know everything. So I would just study and wait and think, I will take you down. It might take me 6 months, might take me a year to take that guy down, but I would eventually take that guy down, and then somehow or another, we might even become friends. I'm serious. Because bullies feel like they're underappreciated, that's why they're big bullies. So, you can do it. It's hard. It's hard to stand up for yourself. I think as women, we're nurturers, we're taught to take care of everybody, take care of the kids, clean the house, do all those great things, which we should, we do, but I've got a husband that our marriage is 50-50. If the yard needs mowing and I'm home and he's not, I do it, and if I'm not home, he's doing it. So that's how it is. And we've had many fights and arguments about, hey, it's your turn. So don't think you won't. I love it when people get married and they stand up there and say, I do, and then they think, now I'm gonna change that guy. Or I'm gonna change that girl. And I have never seen anybody change anybody that didn't wanna be changed.
Exactly.
So when they stand up there and smile and say, I do, and then turn around and say, I don't, that's a big problem. But, I didn't know I was gonna get into marital advice, but I've been married to my husband and I were, dated into high school. And we were 1 year ahead of each other, and we grew up about 3 miles from each other. And he said, well, he didn't have money for gas, and that's what happens when you've got a date 3 to 5 miles away, you just take what you can get. And I'm like, that, you know, he's a smart aleck like me, and that's good. But, we've been married now 50 years, 52. Oh, you're gonna clap, thank you. And I am 71.
Really?
And people say, why aren't you retired? My mind is always turning. My body doesn't because I have Sjogren's syndrome. Y'all might not know what that is, but that took Venus Williams out of playing tennis. Venus Williams got an autoimmune called Sjogren's syndrome, and she had to leave a tournament she was in. It is one of these things that your immune system just decides to attack your nerves, make you feel like there's pins and needles against your legs, your feet, your arms, your hands. It makes you feel tired. It makes you think, I don't want to do that. But again, I want to decide my life. I do not want to be defined by disease, ever. No matter what it is. I want to keep going. God put me on this path, it's mine, and this is what I choose to do. Do I hurt every day? Absolutely every day, all day long. But again, when you go give that lady the house that's 6-month-old baby died and she's still in a wheelchair, it makes how I feel look mighty small. So you need to keep life in perspective. There is always people that are in desperate need. And when you feel down and out, get up and go help a soup kitchen, go help somebody, do something. Keep a good perspective on your life. I would love to say I could sit on the couch and feel sorry for myself, but I don't know that I could do that. I might end up doing something insane, like go outside and chop wood. I don't know what I'd do, but I just don't think I could do it. So only one lady that thinks they want to run for office. You might see, I knew there were more, y'all know. So, do you have fears to run? Scared to run?
Not really fears, I don't know exactly what my path is, but, like after, like, helping campaign for some, like, candidates for Metro Council, I thought it would be interesting, and so I've been thinking about it more recently.
Well, look, don't ever sell yourself short. Your life and what you live and your passions, are as good as anyone's. I do not have Harvard degree. I am still in college here at Western. I didn't graduate. My kids did. I've got a son that's a doctor and a son that's a ballroom dancer. And they both graduated from college. My mom got sick. My dad needed help. I dropped out of college. And life took me in another path. And it happens sometimes. And don't be sorry about it. Think about what I need to do now. And at that time, I needed to be with my family. And I don't regret that. I don't regret being with my mom when she passed away. She had tuberculosis, so back in the day, they didn't know what to do with that either. But, you know, a distraction is just an advantage to try to take another path. And sometimes you just gotta be flexible and say, okay, I'm gonna go do this. Well, that didn't work. Well, I like this, maybe I'll try that. Because those paths will open up. You just gotta be courageous enough to step out there. If you're not good enough, without one of these titles, like state representative, work for governor, you're never gonna be good enough with one. So you're good enough for who you are today and who you will be. You don't have to have a title. Just remember that. Don't let other people intimidate you because you think they're smarter, they've got big degrees, they've got tons of money. I grew up with tons of money, and then the tons of money went away, and then my mom got sick, and everything went haywire. And those things happen. And then here the Trump train came through in 2016. I got on the caboose, went home. Now I'm back working for the governor. I never thought I'd run. I didn't think I'd lose. Mr. Trump said, I have a different opinion. You know what he did? Now I'm a Democrat, but you give people credit. President Trump used social media very well. He came from 11 years of being on television, so he already had a big profile. And he jumped right into social media. The Democrats were slow. Well, we don't want to offend anybody. We don't want to do this and we don't want to do that. Well, for me, the humanitarian part of my party calls me. Be there for people, again, veterans, seniors, children, people that can't help themselves. I have a goal and a mission, regardless of whether I'm Republican or Democrat. It does not matter. And I don't care what anyone else is. You know, be who you are. And pink suits, maybe you can get by with them today, but it's still a man's world, y'all. I hate to say that. Do y'all feel that way? You do? And here we are in 2026. And I felt that way in the 60s and the 70s. And my mom felt that way in the 30s during the war. And we're still that way today. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry to interrupt. Have you noticed like a spike towards more hatred towards you since like the MAGA movement started in like 2015, 2016? Have you noticed like you facing more hate specifically from them, or?
I did. You know, you've got these people out there that really, they got to put their emotions somewhere. And I had people really come up to me during the Obama years. And, you're a Democrat and he's ruining the country and you're taking up for him. And I'm like, I don't feel that way about the president. I wish every president well, Republican or Democrat. And I've met them. And to me, to wish ill the president, I wish ill of my country and me. And I understand you feel that way. And, you know, he was like right up close to me too, and I started talking with my hands. Like, get back, Jack. You know, you don't want to say get out of my face. But it helps to create that little bit of barrier. And yeah, I get a lot of hatred about working for the governor and what he's doing, because it doesn't matter what he's doing, if you're on the other side, he's wasted money, he's this, he's that, he's, for all these liberal things, and you're a Democrat, and you support that, and I tell people, I worked for his dad was in office when I was, and I support this governor. I would not work for somebody that I did not think had good values. I couldn't do it. I don't wanna go down that pike and have to take up for somebody else. That's their problem. They need to get their life straightened out. I'm busy working on mine. Yes, ma'am.
This kind of adds on to what you just said, but do you find it difficult to kind of defend your values of public service when we're living in a society that's very like polarized with two political parties? And is there like a way that you counter that when you serve as a representative?
Well, here we're gonna get into what I believe and I don't believe, and if y'all are okay with that, I'll just say it. So for me, I'm a conservative Democrat. Do I believe in abortion? No. Do I believe that many things are left between the woman, her conscience, her doctor, her family, and her God? Yes. I had a grandson that they had to take at 26 weeks because mom's water broke, infection set up, they said we're gonna lose her and the baby. If he doesn't attempt to fight to be a strong baby, we can't save him, he's too young. And you have to go with that. Why would I wanna go with, well, we can't do anything? I do not want laws made by somebody 300 miles away to tell me what's gonna happen with me. I want that left up to me. And then again, I have farm values, I carry a gun, got one out in the Jeep. I didn't bring the one in here, I thought it'd be nice not pack a gun. All the governors know I pack. I packed when I was in the House. Because one day it was pack your gun to the House of Representatives Day, and everybody outside had a gun, and the state police was between me and them. And I just went up and started talking to this guy. What kind of gun you got? Well, I've got this and that, just trying to have a conversation. No, my values are very rural. They're not really Democrat, but they're not Republican. I definitely believe in the freedom of speech, and most of the veterans that I speak to say, I fought for that. I fought for you to say what you want to say, even if I don't like it. And I'm worried about our democracy being chipped away. My mother-in-law just passed away at 102. Taught school for 40 years. Had an opinion on everything. We were best friends. We'd go out on road trips. My husband said, y'all would go to a goat rodeo. And she said, that's right, and we would have a good time. So she said, never in any time in her life has she been as worried about our democracy other than World War II, which she remembered the war. And when I think about all that she lived through, not having electricity, not having running water, didn't know what a computer was, never heard of anything. But in later life, she knew, because I'd say, this is Facebook, this is TikTok, watch this. This is Megan Thee Stallion, what do you think of this? She's like, good Lord Almighty, is that? I said, anybody can watch it unless your parents lock you out on the radio. And she's like, oh my gosh, and it was the bad one. Y'all know what I'm talking about, don't you? And her mouth was hanging open the whole time. But I wanted her to know that social media was like a television with hundreds of channels that anybody could get on and say what they wanted to say. You could go watch this idiot and he could be home in his basement at midnight talking, and you could go listen to him. But she's seen so much and having taught school for all those years, that opinion that she said still weighs on me. And we can't let things slip away, y'all. And stand up for what you believe in. I don't let anybody tell me what I believe, because they can believe what they want to. I don't know how they were raised. You know, you might have been raised in town and flick the switch and turn the light on and don't know where the powerhouse is. Don't care. You might have been raised that your values were taught to you by your parents who were educators, and they believe this, and this is what you learned, and this is how it is. I don't know how you were raised, and your opinion is based on that. So I'm very respectful of our differences, and I tell people all the time, I learn and value you having a different opinion from me. Because then we can talk about it. Then we can maybe have a law that makes some sense, that'll work for everyone. Yes, ma'am.
Well, you said you were worried about the democracy. Since with that, have you noticed, like, not just a spike in sexism, but also like racism and homophobia?
Yes.
Since recently.
Yes. And some in my family. Not my family, my husband's family. Well, my family too. In both of our families, we have gay cousins. My sister will go off on the whole gay subject. I don't like it, this, that. I'm like, Jane Foster, drive right across the Tennessee line and go look at our cousin. Well, I don't approve of that. The thing is, for me, whatever you are, whatever you choose to be, whatever you decide later in life you want to be, I am fine with that. Because again, if I get to know you, I can learn what you know. And your ideas may be completely different from mine. But it doesn't matter. I feel like that we're all on our own individual path. And I go along with the Democrats or Republicans and everybody. But the Democrats would eat my lunch over, you're not liberal enough. You need to do this and that. I'm like, no, I don't need to. My district is Logan and Todd County and a little bit of Warren. And I guarantee you, at any meeting I go to, at least half the men out there got guns. And so don't act like, you know, that I could be a redneck. Don't act like I could be, but maybe I could be. But that's the thing about it. People have preconceived ideas on labels. Democrat, Republican, gay, straight. You know, I don't. I feel like everybody's God's children, and I get along with everybody. Unless you want to act like a bully, that's when I don't get along with you. So, you know, that's how I feel. And I wish and hope that in your life, that if you take anything away from this crazy conversation that we're having, is to be who you are. You have value. You have respect. You have it. I can't take that away from you. You can let me take that away from you, but don't. Do not let me define you, especially somebody on social media that's never met you. And you know, I made a choice when I was in office. I put on social media the things that I thought helped my community, because that was my job, to help the community. That's why I was elected. Represent my counties. It didn't say, hey, Martha Jane, you can go up there and do everything you want to do. It said represent Logan, Todd, and part of Warren County. And I knew we were conservative counties. So that's how I voted. And somebody asked me, would you vote for something you really maybe didn't want to because the majority of your people wanted you to? And I'm like, yeah, probably. Unless it was, you know, I had a real strong passion about it. then it would be another fight. So we when I was in office, we talked about gay rights, trans rights, we talked about gun rights, we talked about spousal rights, men and women, and custody of kids, and even grandparents' rights, because so many grandparents are raising grandkids. Have y'all noticed that?
Yes.
And we had a bill that gave grandparents, money to help raise the grandkids. So, I think that's helpful. Y'all, my Sjogren's is kicking up, and Sjogren's also likes to attack your saliva glands and say, you need some moisture. And people always say, what's she doing? Miss Diane, or you want me to shut up?
Well, no, I just want, you know, you got your time to be someone.
Are you keeping my time? Please do. No, I need you to. What time? Cause I could talk all day.
It's, we don't want you to miss this important meeting.
What time is it?
It's 10:12. So are you okay for another
It's
10?
it's 10 o'clock now.
Yes,
10-12. It's 10-12.
10:12.
Almost 10:15.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I'm good for a while, unless y'all want to talk about something else. What do y'all want to talk about? Be brave, be bold, say anything. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I think it's just like, I would like to know what you think you would wanna see in like young women who are thinking about running for office, and like what you would hope for young women who are looking at doing that, and like what your advice for those people is.
I hope and want young women, again, to be who you are. And to figure that out. And to go with your style, what you want to wear, how you think it ought to be, where you're comfortable. And start early. And run for school board. Run for a seat in city council. Run for something in school. Just pick something and get into it. Go work the polls like I did. You can see a lot of interesting voters out there. But step into it. Raise your hand and get out there and start doing little things and see if you like it. And see if you're cut out for it. You know, I'm not saying it's a wild, wild west. I don't mean that. But I mean before I ran, I thought, okay, how's it gonna fit into my family? How am I gonna financially do it? Do I have the time to put into it and do it right? Because if I didn't have the time to do it right, I didn't wanna do it. You know, I didn't wanna halfway get in and say, oh, that sounds great. We're gonna go do this or that. And I'll tell you something else you can do too. You can step in and start working with your charities in your community. Start helping people. Stepping out, you will meet a lot of people that are in office, and I do advise you to do that. Get out of your circle and step out and meet more people, and be willing to do that. Just walk in there and say, hey, I would like to help make Thanksgiving baskets for people that don't have it. And every school's got a family resource center, and they all need help. So just get in there, make that decision. You think it's gonna be real hard for you to decide to do it?
I think so, maybe, yeah.
Find a good friend that you can talk to about it, or I'll give you my card, you can call me and I'm like, get up and do it. Yes, ma'am.
What's your kind of perspective on like the immigration issue and like ICE currently going on in the nation right now?
Well, first of all, I don't think anybody needs to be running around with tactical gear and mask on, because I know they came to the House of Representatives one time, like that, you know, dressed like that, with tactical gear on, and they let them in to the Capitol, and they are intimidated. And there was a school group there that day, and they were like afraid of these guys because they're very menacing. And I think if you're in law enforcement to do a job, I think you need to do that job. But covering your face and being aggressive and doing the things that they're doing to harm people and not show respect. You know, we've got a thing called a constitution and amendments to the Constitution that say, we're not gonna do this. But it's like, okay, all that's out the door. It is the Wild Wild West on immigration, the way it looks. And I disagree with that. You know, I think that people coming across that border, I know if I was standing down there and a mom and her 3 kids were standing there saying, we came from a country where they are mass killing and we want our freedom, I would say, go get in line and try to get it. One of the issues we have though, ladies, is the fact that you do come in and they recognize you and they say, okay, we'll have a hearing about, you know, you coming into the United States, you can go live with your cousin in Ohio, and those people just kind of seem to get lost in the process. And then you have the kids whose parents came here 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, and they're here. And they're like, well, we do not need to recognize them as citizens. When our Constitution says if you are born in these United States, you are a citizen. We are all immigrants. My parents, grandparents came here from Scotland. I'm not a Native American. I don't need to stand up here and go, this is my country. No, I live in this country. I maybe claim the farm down Logan County, that's mine. You know, I got title to it. I do not agree with fear tactics and doing the things that they're doing. I think it's wrong. You know, I think that you need to show people respect, and they're just, I don't know, you know, the eating the dogs and the cats thing really got me. Y'all remember that one?
Yes, ma'am.
And those immigrants were working hard at that factory. Most of them worked at that factory. Was it Haitians? Were they Haitians?
Yeah, they were trying to claim that they were eating dogs and cats, but no one in reality was ever doing that, as far as I know.
But the thing is, if in your mind, you wanna go down that path and believe everything that one person may tell you, then you're gonna believe that.